Hi, I'm Joe,
I'm Joe's mom.
and we are
Eastside Vibes.
So today we're going to talk about Travis Scott and his new album, Utopia. Before we get into it, I wanted to ask you, what do you think of when you think of Travis Scott?
So when I think of Travis Scott, I probably think of three things. I think of Sicko Mode, because that's probably one of my favorite Travis Scott songs. I think of the Kardashians and all the drama that goes with that. And I think of Astro World, the concert, and everything that went down with that, and kind of his non-response to it, sort of response to it, and just the sadness that happened as a result of that concert, and how I feel he really never truly acknowledged what happened.
Yeah, it is pretty weird, like the whole Kardashians thing, the fact that he has a kid with Kylie Jenner. I always found that very strange. I never thought those two people would link up.
He has two kids.
Oh yeah, that's right. He actually has two kids with her.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of the whole Astroworld thing, so obviously his response to it was not satisfactory.
Correct.
At all.
Correct.
I don't know. Some people think that he knew what was going on when he was on stage, and he just didn't stop it because he wanted to go with the hype of the concert. Other people think that he was so coked up or something that he had no idea what was going on, and I could maybe see that being the case. I don't really know, because when you watch the videos, it's kind of like, how did you not know what was going on?
Right, because there were I think red lights in the crowd, and,
Yeah.
and police were coming in there and stuff like that. But like you said, and from what I've heard of his concerts, they're so intense that he's probably just so focused on his performance that maybe he was just truly oblivious to what happened.
And he's usually on something too.
Right.
So,
but even so, if that were the case, even so, after it happened, he didn't talk about it for a long time, even acknowledge it.
Yeah, the only thing he ever did was he did that Charlemagne interview where he claimed he had no idea what was going on.
Right.
Didn't really apologize for anything.
No.
And he still hasn't.
No.
So, that...
I think that's brought a lot of hate to him.
Yeah, it's definitely a stain on him and his career, because before that, he was thought of as one of, the most innovative artists of today in hip-hop or any genre, really.
Correct.
He was known, everyone was almost following him.
Correct.
And he hurt his own reputation by doing that.
Correct.
So this is actually, Utopia is actually his first album in 5 years, which is a really long time for a hip-hop artist.
Correct.
Astro World is his last album, and that came out in 2018.
Was the Astro World where the terrible thing went down? Was that his last concert?
That, before he did these recent ones, that would have been his last concert.
So
he kind of went dark for a couple, or at least a year and a half.
Right. So I'm assuming, I would hope that he was feeling something, and there's something I'm going to share at the end about what he said, but again,
I don't know if he was feeling something.
I don't know.
Another thing I've heard about Travis Scott is there's one of his old managers have said that he had a seizure while Travis Scott was in the recording booth, and Travis Scott got mad at him and fired him because he said, I can't have someone who's having seizures work for me, basically.
Whoa.
Which, I mean, that guy could be lying, I guess, but if that is the case, it's dude.
And then you see what happened at Astro World,
it makes you
think.
Yeah,
it really makes you think about him.
Maybe this guy is a complete sociopath.
Right. And so then I'm going to ask you this. You would know better than I. So what was the overall feedback on this, since this was the first album after all this? What were people saying? Were they positive about it or no?
This album has actually gotten a very mixed response. Some people love it. I think it's because sonically it is very cool, but also he does not reference anything to do with Astroworld on this album, there's only like one time where he kind of does.
Mm-hmm.
It's on a song that we're actually not really going to bring up. It's Parasail, the one
Yes.
with Dave Chappelle and
Yes.
and who else? And Young Lean,
Right.
where Travis Scott seems to kind of like be going like, woe is me, like
Yeah.
I'm the victim here, but it's like,
yes.
dude, there are actual victims.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
you're
are
not
not-
the victim.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that may have tainted a lot of people's opinion of this album too.
It definitely
after
did.
Yeah. Yeah, and it may taint a lot of people's opinion about him forever too.
Yeah, I think it will.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, so in the past, his albums have had like very concise themes,
Mm-hmm.
and this one doesn't as really have a concise theme. Like maybe a little bit sonically at
Mm-hmm.
some points,
Mm-hmm.
but lyrically it doesn't at all.
Right. Kind of like the Post Malone one too. It was all over.
Yeah.
But it gave you different types of music. Like
Yeah.
we said, it gave you like country or classical Post Malone or a little pop. But this one, it's just everywhere.
Well, and the thing is, if he wasn't going to address Astroworld,
Mm-hmm.
like then this should have been a very like concise, like almost like a storybook type of album.
Yes.
And it's not.
Yes.
It's either do that or talk about what happened.
Right.
Like,
Right.
don't do neither.
Right.
You know, because I wouldn't have been. I would have been totally okay if he didn't bring that up. I mean, he should definitely still talk about it and make a
Right.
statement, apologize. He still hasn't done that stuff. But I wouldn't have been mad if he didn't really bring it up. If this album was way more concise, I do think. I mean, we'll do our scores later. I do think it's a very good album, but it's just, yeah, that is kind of like a knock on it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So the first song we wanted to talk about is actually the first song on the album. It's Hyena. And I think this is a phenomenal way to start the album.
Yes.
It's very, like, bold. It has, like, this weird industrial pop feeling to it, which is not very prevalent today at all. And, yeah, I think it's really cool. It's cool that in the beginning of the song, they actually have audio from George Clinton from
Yes.
Funkadelic,
Yes.
like from his song Maggot Brain,
Yes.
which is just random as heck, and
Yes.
Yeah, I find that pretty cool.
Yes. I got the intro music. I got like a Jesus Walks theme from it, and I know if you listen to it, it's not going to sound 100% the same, but I just got that like theme because it starts off with like a beat that is it goes in a certain way, and that's how Jesus Walks did. It was like this beat that just moved before he really got into singing, and he doesn't his voice is very calm, I feel, in this song. The whole song is calm, which just totally reminded me of Jesus Walks.
The beat is pretty, I wouldn't say like super intense, but it's pretty hype. And
Oh
like,
yeah, great way to start off the album.
Yeah, and
Great.
his, like you said, his vocals aren't that way, and it's a pretty cool contrast.
Right, and it's classic Travis voice too. It's
Yeah.
classic.
Yeah, it like has elements of like new stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, like the classic like Travis feeling.
One thing I noticed, and it's going to come up again, he mentioned Tom Brady in there, and he mentions him in another song too. So I don't know what his fixation is about Tom Brady. Maybe he wants to meet him or something. I don't know, but I just found that was interesting that I'm like, oh, Tom Brady. And then he brought him up in another song. I'm like, oh, okay.
Maybe because Tom Brady is the GOAT, maybe he thinks he's the GOAT too.
Oh, that could be.
He's
That could
calling
be.
himself Tom Brady.
That could be.
The next song that we both really like is Modern Jam.
Yes.
This song, so this is happens a few times on this album. It's very obvious that this song is influenced by Kanye's Yeezus album.
Oh, yes.
In particular, the song I Am a God.
Yes. Yep, we talked about that.
And I think Travis Scott sounds very good on this. That instrumental, like I said, it sounds like I Am a God. It has like,
Right.
once again, has like an industrial feeling, almost like alternative alternative hip hop that's very uncommon.
Right. And I said this one really has like a good beat to it. Like if you're in a club, you could dance to this song. Like it made it move.
And this song is the first of, in my opinion, multiple times on this album where the feature is better than Travis Scott.
Yes.
I
Completely.
think Tizo Touchdown is the feature.
Yes.
Who is an artist who has an album. He has an album coming out later this year, and we have to talk about it because he is. There's no one like that guy.
Yeah, he was showing me, or he was having me listening to a few of his songs prior to this, and his voice is so different in all of them. Like I noticed in here, I thought that Tizo sounded like David Burns from Talking Heads in the song, in the part that he sang.
Yeah, and that's actually not, there's, in some of his solo songs, I think he also sounds like David Byrne.
Yeah, but the ones you were having me listening to, he completely sounded like different people, or just his voice was different.
I think that Tizo is, because he's like an up-and-coming artist, okay. I think he's someone that's going to be, like, huge.
That's great. I'm looking forward to that album.
It's cool that he gets, like, such... I don't know, like such like a big like presence on this song. Mm-hmm. Like he gets a chance to shine.
Yes, and he did.
And he does shine for sure. And yes. Travis Scott, his voice, you know, you mentioned it in Hyena, it sounds similar to some of his old stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't think Travis Scott's voice sounds very much like what you would be used to at all in this record, this song. No,
not at all. I think throughout the rest of the album, I don't really feel I hear enough of. I don't hear enough of his classic voice, and a lot of the people that he brought into his songs, in many cases, I felt really made that song better. Like this one.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Mm-hmm. I think that means he's a good curator of music because he obviously produces all this stuff.
Okay.
So he like is very good at like knowing what sounds good and like getting artists that will sound good.
Yes, he's good at that.
Yeah, but sometimes he seems, it's almost like he's the feature.
Yes.
Which is weird when it's his album.
Right.
The next song we're going to talk about is the song that everyone's talking about. It's Meltdown.
Where he mentions Tom Brady
with
again.
Drake.
He was telling me the whole story behind this, so I'm just going to let him speak to this song.
So, one thing about Meltdown is, like, as I said, it features Drake, and it has a very, it reminds me a lot of Sicko Mode.
Yes.
Like
yes.
The way the beat changes, obviously.
Yes.
But also just the feeling of it. It almost has like a 2018 like trap like sound to it.
Yes.
This was obvious. This was meant to be like the big single. You can tell. It really doesn't sound like anything else on the rest of the album.
Correct.
It's almost just like thrown in there.
Right.
But that's okay because it's such a good song.
Right. And the story behind it is unbelievable.
Well, it's Drake always wants to rehash his old beefs.
Yes.
And in his verse, he rehashes his beef with Pusha T, who those guys have been going back and forth for years. If you follow hip-hop, you would know they have had multiple diss tracks about each other over the years.
Did they ever work together? Is that what happened?
No. What's funny is, so Drake, early in his career, like stated that Clips, which was the group that Pusha T originally got famous with, was he was one of his favorite artists, and he bought like a signed microphone from Pusha T of when in like 2004, before Drake was ever making music. I think he was like in high school at that time. And it's ironic that now they like hate each other. It's because Drake like initially had the beef started with Kanye, and Pusha T is or at least was the president of Good Music, which is Kanye's label.
Right.
And Pusha T went at Drake in defense of Kanye, and then they just started going back and forth with each other. The most prevalent instance of their beef is when Pusha T made the song Life of Adonis.
Yes.
Is when he exposed that Drake has a kid.
Oh, that's right.
And everyone,
that's right.
no one knew, and it's with like some random stripper.
Oh, yes, that's right. It was like, and everybody's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's right. He
Like,
called him out big
Yeah,
time.
that he did that.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yes. Wow, I totally forgot.
I don't know if there's anything Drake could ever say that would, top that.
No.
The other person that Drake rips on in this song, which I wonder if this is also because of the Kanye and Pusha T link,
Okay.
is Pharrell.
Right.
And so first, earlier this year, Drake bought, or it came out later that there was an anonymous buyer of a chain that Pharrell was auctioning off.
Okay.
And Drake was this anonymous buyer.
Okay.
And he ended up melting down the chain to make a different chain, which is unbelievably petty for like a 37-year-old man to be doing something like that.
He likes to buy people's things, that's for sure. What else did he recently buy? Like that crown ring. Whose was that?
Oh, that was Tupac's.
Yeah,
But he's not going to melt that down.
No. He likes to buy interesting
But
things.
I wonder if the song is called Meltdown because of that.
Because of that. That would... They put thought into what they do, so I would not put it past them to call this song Meltdown.
So, when Drake rips on Pharrell in this song, he brings up the fact that Pharrell is now the director of Louis V, and Drake was very good friends with Virgil Abloh, who was also best friends with Kanye, which is pretty weird.
Yes.
Because they're both from Chicago.
Right.
And Virgil Abloh was the director of Louis V.
Okay.
So Drake is trying to say that people don't like Pharrell's version of Louis V, but he's been universally accepted and loved as the director, and that people are saying he's doing a great job. So I don't really know what Drake is trying to say here.
Drake likes to make beef. That's for sure.
He does. He's very good at making him or getting himself back into the news.
Yes.
That's what he
definitely
when he does these features. He'll call people out.
Yes.
And then we're talking about it, so it worked.
Yep, exactly.
This is another song where, I think it's not even close. The feature is way better.
Yes, 100%.
I barely even remember Travis Scott's part on this song. Besides the part where he rips on Timothée Chalamet because that's Kylie's new boyfriend.
Right.
But besides that, I mainly only think of the Drake parts on this song.
Put a great story to that song.
So the next song we're going to bring up is Fiend with Playboi Carti. This is yet another example of a song where Travis Scott almost sounds like the feature.
Yes.
I think it's especially noticeable on this song because, to me at least, Fiend sounds a lot more like a Playboi Carti song than it does a Travis Scott song. It particularly reminds me of Playboi Carti's album Whole Lotta Red, which I personally love, which came out a couple years ago.
Okay.
It this instrumental could be on that album.
Yeah,
and
it had great instrumental.
The vocals of Playboi Carti sound like the vocals from that album.
Okay.
It almost feels like this was a song that maybe was supposed to be on that album.
Playboi Carti's?
Yeah.
Okay.
It literally could have been, and they just never put it on there.
Right.
It was an unreleased track.
Okay.
And now they put it on Utopia.
Here.
Which, I mean, I don't know if that's the case. Either way, I think it's a good song. But I think it's interesting to note that Playboi Carti once again, Playboi Carti seems like he's the main artist.
Yes.
And Travis Scott just sounds like his feature.
Right.
What it's cool that he's able to do that or get these artists to sound so good on his record, but it is also kind of weird that it's
taken away from him.
Yeah.
And this is his album.
Yeah, you would think this is about Travis Scott, but at least in this case, this song's about Playboi Carti.
Right. You brought up you just brought up something about that these songs sound like they should be on other people's albums, and I think that's something that we felt through a lot of this album. Is a lot of the beats and a lot of the people who came on the album, they, especially the beats, were taken from other people's songs. And again, it just takes away from him on the album, because you start to listen to it and you're like, oh, that sounds like for me, for Hyena, the intro sounded like Jesus Walks. So immediately I think of Kanye, and that's like going through my head the whole time I listen to it. And then there's other songs that do that too.
Speaking of Kanye, the next song we're going to talk about is Circus Maximus with Sway Lee and The Weeknd. And this song is definitely a direct, I'm not going to say ripoff, but it's definitely directly inspired by Black Skinheads.
Oh, yeah, yes. I couldn't remember what the opening beat was. I at first thought it was Down with the Sickness by Disturbed, because the opening drum beat. And then we were talking just now, and he's like, no, it's Black Skinhead. And then he played it for me, and I'm like, yes, completely. And so many of his songs have Kanye, like, beats to them.
Yeah, I mean, Kid Cudi and Kanye have always been his biggest inspirations. Okay. Actually, his stage name, Travis Scott, is an ode to Kid Cudi.
Oh, okay.
Because Kid Cudi's name in real life is Scott Miss Cudi.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
And Travis Scott's name has nothing. It does not have Travis or Scott in it.
What is his name?
I can't remember what his name is, but I
But
know
it's not Travis Scott.
His uncle's name is like Travis.
Okay.
And then Scott is Kid Cudi's name.
Oh, wow.
So
wow.
That's kind of an interesting note. But yeah, no, that Black Skinhead is such an iconic song.
Yes.
And in a way,
yes,
this feels like a ripoff a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's because he loves Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
But I would rather just listen to Black Skinhead. I agree.
And The Weeknd helps in the song. The Weeknd,
he makes it a little different.
He makes it different. Yes, definitely.
And I think Travis Scott's performance on the song actually is very good.
Correct.
It's just, like I said, I would rather listen to Black Skinhead.
I agree. Great song. Definitely great song.
The next one we're going to talk about is Love with, speaking of Kid Cudi, featuring Kid Cudi.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think this song stinks. This is the worst song on the album. The reason I wanted to briefly talk about it is when we were discussing what we were going to do for this this review, she said she loves that song. And I was like, really? I think Kid Cudi sounds awful on it.
Yeah, you were disappointed with his beat, his sound.
And growing up, I loved Kid Cudi. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what happened, man?
The only reason I really liked it is because they kept repeating the verse throughout it. And I also felt that it was faster. It was more of a really fast rap beat, and not Eminem rap beat, but it was faster. Like all the other songs had a little slower beat to it, and this one was just jammed up. It was pumped up a little bit more, and I liked that beat to it, and I liked that it had that repeating verse. But it almost sounded like a pop thing when they kept repeating the verse. But then when I was listening to it a little bit more, I was like, you could get sick of this song really fast.
It reminds me a lot of older Kid Cudi music.
Okay.
But it's not as good as that music.
Right.
Maybe it's just nostalgia for me. I grew up with his music.
Right.
And I would rather listen to that music. But to me, this just sounds like a worse version of a Kid Cudi song. And one thing I had to say before we move on is this song is actually produced or partly produced by Pharrell.
Oh.
And it's I don't really get how Travis Scott has Drake ripping on Pharrell in one song and then just has a song on the album that's literally produced by Pharrell.
Oh, so now is Drake going to be ripping on Travis Scott in a future song?
I mean, he might.
He might.
I could see Drake doing
Yeah,
that.
now he's got beef with Travis Scott.
But the next song we're going to talk about is K-pop with Bad Bunny and The Weeknd. So K-pop was the song that was released as the only single released for before this record came out,
Okay.
like a few days before it came out.
Okay.
And it got like heavy backlash. People did not like it at all.
Wow.
One, it sounds nothing like any other Travis Scott music.
Correct.
This song, you know, we keep going back to this.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a Bad Bunny song.
It does. It does.
It has like a Latin house and like reggaeton like fusion, which Bad Bunny does a lot of that.
Right.
And like Bad Bunny sounds great on this song, but when this song came out, people were like this doesn't even sound like a Travis Scott song. Like, what is this? Is
Sounds
the
like a
whole
Bad Bunny
album
song.
going to be this?
Yes.
And the answer is no.
Right.
Obviously.
Right. I agree with him 100%. I love Bad Bunny, but I wish I could understand what he was saying, and he keeps telling me just look up the lyrics,
Yeah.
which I know I could.
I
but
think Bad Bunny's
I
awesome.
love his beat. But what I did like about this song is that when The Weeknd came in, he continued with Bad Bunny's beat.
Or with his flow.
Yeah, with his flow.
Yeah.
He liked that. What did you call it? What kind of sound did you call it? Not a hip hop sound.
The reggaeton.
The reggaeton. He
Yeah.
continued with that reggaeton, which I really liked that in The Weeknd when he did that.
I mean, The Weeknd is he's definitely one of my favorite artists. I think he's insanely versatile. He can pretty much do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He actually has songs with Rosalia. He has
Oh.
a song with Maluma,
Okay.
who's a popular reggaeton artist.
Okay.
In that song, he actually sings in Spanish,
Oh.
which is really cool.
He can do so much.
He can do
He really
everything,
can
yeah.
do everything. I mean, he changes his character and who he is. He almost becomes that person when he does. I shouldn't almost. He becomes that person when he does his album.
So much to the point where people are hating on him for that show he had come out this year, the Idol. But it's like, he's acting.
Yeah, it's a character.
It's
not who
it's
he
a
is.
show.
I know. It's not who he is.
Maybe I don't know if that makes him a horrible actor or a phenomenal actor, but
Yeah.
it is interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
I think in the context of this record, I like K-pop a lot more than because I was also underwhelmed when it came out.
Mhm.
Now, because it kind of switches up the like darker, like heavier feeling of the record,
Mhm.
I think it's good in the context of this record.
I agree.
But when it came out, I didn't think it was good. So it's
As a
kind of
single.
cool that now I think Meltdown should have been the single. I don't really know why you picked this one,
Right.
but
Right.
either way, like it's a good song for sure.
It is.
And then the last song we're gonna talk about is Telekinesis with SZA and Future. This is literally my favorite song of 2023. It brings the album up for me. It's awesome. She keeps like saying she doesn't like it as much. I'm like, you have to listen to it with like big speakers because the bass,
Right.
you know,
right.
makes it better.
Right. We were listening. We're just doing like little listens before we started talking, and I was like, it's okay. But then when you knew the bass would come in, then I was like, oh, I get it, because I was just listening to it on my iPhone, and I'm like,
It has such like a huge feeling.
Mhm.
I think it has a very like ethereal feeling, almost like
Oh.
you're levitating when you hear
Oh.
it, especially when the bass comes in with that like soft melody.
I'll have to listen to it in his car because he puts bass on in his car.
So one cool thing about Telekinesis is this song takes the instrumental from Future Sounds, which is an unreleased Kanye song, which was supposed to be on Donda.
Oh, okay.
And that song was supposed to feature Future and Travis Scott.
Oh, wow.
And so it's cool that I know one thing when the song came, as great as it is, people wanted Kanye to be featured on it. You know, Kanye's not really doing anything right now because
Right.
of
Kanye.
what he's done.
Yeah.
But it is cool that it like this is like an ode to Kanye for sure. It has lyrics from that original song.
Right.
Once again, although Travis Scott, in my opinion, sounds great on this song.
Yes.
The features in this song take it over the top for me. Future sounds awesome. I think whenever Future does this more like R&B trap stuff, like these softer instrumentals, he's so good. I mean, Future's so good in general, but he sounds, because you don't expect him to do these kind of instrumentals.
Right. No.
And he actually has a very good singing voice.
Yes, and it really comes out in this song.
And I think SZA's, SZA takes the song over the top. It's probably why it's my favorite song of the year so far.
Beautiful voice.
Her performance is literally phenomenal. One cool thing about her performance is, towards the end of her verse, she uses the flow from one of Drake's most iconic songs, Marvin's Room.
Yeah.
What a lot of people to this day would say that's their favorite Drake song.
Mm-hmm.
And the rumors about that song were always that the third verse is about SZA, because SZA and Drake dated around that time.
Okay.
And throughout the years, Drake and SZA have kind of like talked about each other in songs sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you I put this two and two together the other day when I was watching TikToks about this album. If you listen to what she's saying, she's responding to what Drake says on Marvin's Room.
And you said that album was from a while ago, didn't you?
Yeah, that's 2011.
And so she was
like 12 years
responding.
Later. So like what he's saying, he says that like he's like basically like in that verse, he's saying he had all these girls over. He had he got with this girl at the party. Then he calls her when he's drunk after she leaves.
Okay.
To because now he's all sad.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of like, dude, like you chose them, you know what? Like you don't get to have me now. Even though she also says weirdly, I still want you. So, maybe there will be a SZA and Drake reunion in the future at some point.
A lot of beef being thrown throughout this album, but the beef is being thrown by the artists who are collaborating with him, not by him. The artists who are collaborating.
Yeah, Travis Scott. He mainly only talks about himself on this album.
Yes.
Whereas other people are talking about other people.
Beefing each other.
But yeah, overall, I do really like this record. There are a couple of things that bring it down for me. One, that doesn't have like super good cohesiveness always.
Yes.
If you listen to Astroworld, that sounds like a story.
Okay.
The whole thing, the instrumentals all go into each other. Like the transitions it's very cool.
Okay.
It's all, even though it has a lot of like songs that I would listen to on their own. Mm-hmm. Astroworld is like an experience listening to it all the way through. It's considered like a seminal hip hop album.
I like how you said experience. That's a good way to say it.
This one does not have that feeling. Even though it has a lot of good music, the transitions aren't great, and it's just more like a standard hip hop album. And when you think of Travis Scott, you think of like these very immersive like I said, experiences.
Right. And you didn't get that.
Yeah.
And like you also said, it was a lot of the feature artists who took over his songs.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah, so that made it different.
And the other thing I kind of want to allude to is it's very apparent that a lot of the instrumentals on this album, we mentioned it multiple times, are influenced by Kanye's Yeezus. Mm-hmm. Which is, once again, a seminal hip-hop album. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievably influential to everyone that came after it. But Yeezus is an album about, like, racial injustice.
Right. There's a theme to it.
Yeah, it's very political. Mm-hmm. And
great album. If you've never listened to it, album.
One of the best. Mm-hmm. But this one is not... It doesn't really have a lyrical theme at all.
It just has its beats.
The only lyrical theme is that like Travis Scott is the greatest, and he doesn't really bring up anything at all.
No.
There's like no lyrical substance to it.
No.
And Travis Scott is not known as like this like phenomenal lyricist. It's always been more about the way his music sounds and less about what he's saying.
Okay.
He's not Kanye, he's not Kendrick Lamar. He's not one of these people that can do that.
Okay.
But I think if you're going to take influence from an album like Yeezus,
Mm-hmm.
you should try to do that. Either that or
Yeah.
he should have like brought up Astroworld
Yes.
at any point on the record besides when he says he's the victim on Parasail.
Right. And I had said, even if it was, sometimes at the beginning of an album, people will have like a soft instrumental in the back, and they might say a small thing like, I'd like to acknowledge the people who perished in Astroworld. Even if it was something small, or in the beginning or the end, but he did nothing. And I don't know.
Yeah. But as far as like our rankings go, I actually changed my ranking from what I wrote when on my blog when I wrote about this a couple of weeks ago.
What'd you say on your blog?
I gave it like close to an 8.
Oh wow!
Because I thought it was very good. Like especially when you first hear it, it's kind of shocking.
Mm-hmm.
But like now, like a couple weeks later, thinking about it, I now think it's like more closer to like maybe in between like a 7 and a 7.5 around there. I still think it's probably one of the better albums of 2023 overall.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. People want. Maybe it's because I'm a little underwhelmed because people wanted this to be like Astroworld.
Totally.
Astroworld was like people. Even like I said, it's like considered an all-time great
Mm-hmm.
trap album.
Right.
And I don't think that Utopia is going to be thought of as that. There are songs, in my opinion, like Telekinesis and Modern Jam and Meltdown that will stand the test of time and they will be big hits for years.
But it's because of the features he has in them, I believe.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts on it?
For me, it was hard to figure out a ranking, but I would probably rank it between a 5 and a 6. And the 5 would be because of just Travis Scott's, like, throughout the whole thing. Like you said, he felt like he was more of a victim. And again, I didn't like the fact that he didn't at least acknowledge what happened at Astroworld. But I moved it up to a 6, and I would have moved it up higher had Travis Scott done a little bit more. But I would say it's a 6 or higher in that rank because of all of the collaboration he did. I feel his collaboration was amazing, and if I was talking just about the collaboration, it would be like a 7 or 8 because the collabs were amazing.
I guess for me, that's why I'm giving it like that kind of ranking because I'm not putting as much weight into the lyrical aspect of it just because I know more about Travis Scott and I knew he wasn't going to do that.
Right.
But like that being said, he probably should have done it.
Mm-hmm.
But like as far as like the way it sounds, I think it sounds pretty good or very good for the most part.
Well, because it sounds like Kanye. I think a lot of it sounds like Kanye, and
I mean that works. Whatever
it does.
It
it's great.
works.
That's what does it for you.
But yeah, I think you have a quote you wanted to.
Yes. So the only person he ever talked to about Astroworld, you said, was Charlemagne.
Yeah, he did
Correct?
an interview with him.
He was the only one.
Yeah, it was like right after it happened.
Okay. And so what he said at that time was, I've been on different types of emotions, an emotional roller coaster. It gets so hard because I always feel connected to my fans, and I went through something, and my fans went through something, and people's parents went through something, and it really hurts. It really hurts the community. It hurts the city. It's just been a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of grieving, and just trying to wrap my head around it.
But what is it? I don't think he said anything there.
I don't think he
sounds
said,
like
I'm sorry that
that's like
this
a PR
happened.
statement.
It is a PR because when he says, I always feel connected to my fans and I went through something.
Well, I mean, you're not very connected to your fans because your fans are dying at your concert.
Right. It was a PR statement.
But,
so,
with that being said, I'm Joe.
I'm Joe's mom.
And we're East Side Vibes. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the stuff if you want to. Check out my blog if you want to. That's linked in the bio. And yeah, have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.